So I'm back with another ARC book review, and this time it is Celestial Monsters by Aiden Thomas. Now this is book 2 in the Sunbearer Trials duology, and so if you haven't read the Sunbearer Trials first, I'm going to make this very spoiler free, so it's not going to ruin anything from book 1. It's not going to ruin anything for book 2 because I want you to be able to go and read this duology and enjoy it without any spoilers, because let me tell you, this is a duology that you need to add to your TBR. So this book starts off immediately following book 1. So the events at the end of book 1. Book 2, we start off right there. We're dealing with the aftermath of things that happened with book 1, and everyone is just trying to figure out what to do now, how to handle things. So for some background knowledge, in case you have not read either book and you're a little curious what's going on. So basically this is a fictional fantasy world, and we have individuals called dioses who are basically gods, and they are underneath the umbrella of the sun god Sol. And we have different kind of classifications, I guess you could say, of gods. We have golds, jades, and obsidians. Now, many years prior to the start of this book, the obsidians were kind of locked away. There was a big war. They were locked away. They were taken away. And we just had gold and jades. Now, within the golds and the jades, we do see kind of a disparity. The golds are considered heroes. They're children, the semi-deuses. They go to an academy, they learn how to be heroes, how to fight, whereas the jades, semi-deuses, they kind of just, they're with mortals, they go to regular school, they're not considered, these heroes, they're kind of considered a little bit less than the golds. Now, every certain amount of years, apology, I cannot remember how many years it is, there is all of the semi-deuses that are of age. They go and basically 10 of them are chosen by Sol to compete, with the idea that the one who ranks number 1 will sacrifice the one that's ranked number 10, and the sacrifice is made to keep the obsidian gods locked up. So like I said, book 2 starts off immediately following book 1. If you've read book 1, you know what happened at the end. Now in book 2, we do have a little bit of a change. We went from a single point of view, which was Tio, who is our main character. He was the only point of view that we had in book 1. In book 2, we have his point of view and Shio. I think I'm pronouncing his name correctly, or their name correctly. I think that was a fantastic decision by Aiden Thomas. I think it really makes the story more robust. We get much more information. We get to see multiple sides and facets of this story through both of their perspectives. And we get to learn a little bit more about Shio, who I really did truly love in the first book. And I loved him even more in the second book. We also get introduced to a couple new characters, including some minor side characters, as well as some different gods, because we do get introduced to a lot of the obsidian gods that, now are out and causing chaos and mayhem all around. Now, Tio, Nia, and Aurelio, they are on a mission to basically go and get the soul stone away from the Obsidians and redo the sacrifice and, basically trap them back. So they're on their own little mission. They kind of run into a lot of issues. And we just kind of see them all like kind of really trying to figure out, how do we move on from what just happened? How do we handle this? And also, a lot of their dynamic has changed, not only amongst them as a group, but within themselves as well. In book 1, if you've read the book, you know that there is kind of a little bit of a romance between Aurelio and Tio. Now, they used to be friends. Things kind of happened. Aurelio kind of pushed Tio away. You find out more the reasoning behind that in this book. But in this book, sparks do start to fly, figuratively and literally. You will understand when you read this book what I mean. And I will say, while there is a romance in this book, it does in no way, shape, or form distract from the wider story. I would actually almost say that the romance was really small in this. I was expecting it to be a little bit more, with it being book 2, knowing that these two were supposed to be endgame. I was kind of expecting more of a romance between the two of them, but I actually did like it. I feel like there's just so much more that was going on, that if we spent so much time on their romance, it would have really thoroughly distracted from the major plot, and I feel like we would have had to rush some of the plot points. So there is a romance in this. It's not super like in your face strong. It does end in a happily ever after, with everything being solved. So just go into that knowing that. I really, like I said, enjoyed this book and this duology. I was so ecstatic to read it. The first book ended in a way that I literally had to sit there and pause at the end of it and be like, what the hell just happened? So I was really excited to be able to dive straight into book 2. Now, Celestial Monsters is out today. So if you haven't read any of these, I highly recommend you read them, download them, get into it. You're going to love it. It's a very quick, easy to read duology. A lot of great world building, really kind of witty, friendships in the way that they all talk to each other. And Tio is just an amazing, amazing main character. I loved him. He at no point let his morals or his values, they never changed. He himself as a character did change. That he is a character that is trans and has a lot of body dysmorphia, mainly pertaining to his wings because they are more feminine for his type of semi-dios, and just really struggles with kind of body dysmorphia. But we really see him coming into his own between the first book and the second book, which I loved. I love watching characters go from, I won't say that he wasn't, strong or anything like that, because he was even at the start of the first book, but becoming more confident, more sure of themselves. And we see that a lot with Tio, but like I said, also without him sacrificing any of his morals, any of his values. He stays with it even up until the very, very end of this book. So I absolutely loved him as a character. All of the other side characters were really well written. We see some that do have a really good, character development through the book that makes sense for them. And then we have some that don't develop at all. Again, it makes sense for them. I never felt like any of these characters changed in a way where I was like, that makes no sense, or it was a very abrupt change that you don't see coming. It's all really well written. So again, Celestial Monsters is out today. The first book is The Sunbearer Trials. I highly recommend you add these to your list. I'm a huge Aiden Thomas fan. I fell in love with his books when I read The Cemetery Boys, and I was so excited to dive into this series. And also I was really excited to be able to have gotten an ARC review of Celestial Monsters, and just to be able to read it and enjoy this beautiful, amazing fantasy world that he kind of created. So again, it's out today. Add it to your TBR, download it, buy it, and get it today.